The Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us on this Friday night. I'm Jay Kohn. Janelle has the night off. President Trump follows through on his promise to strike back at Syria over last weekend's chemical attack. The president addressing the country tonight, announcing that along with Britain and France, armed forces, the U.S., is launching precision strikes against targets associated with Syria's chemical weapon capabilities. Speaking from the White House diplomatic reception room, the president said the purpose of this campaign is to establish a strong deterrent against Bashar al-Assad's use of such weapons. Mola Lengi is at the White House with the latest.
President Trump ordered airstrikes on targets inside Syria Friday night.
A combined operation with the armed forces of France and the United Kingdom is now underway.
The move was in response to last weekend's chemical weapons attack in the rebel-held town of Douma.
Clearly, the Assad regime did not get the message last year. This time, our allies and we have struck harder.
The targets that were struck and destroyed were specifically associated with the Syrian regime's chemical weapons program.
From the start, the U.S., the UK, and France suspected the regime of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad was to blame.
It is not about regime change. It is about a limited and targeted strike that does not further escalate tensions in the region.
The purpose of our actions tonight is to establish a strong deterrent against the production, spread, and use of chemical weapons.
The Kremlin cautioned the White House against taking military action. Russia vowed to stand by Syria and warned that the situation could escalate. Hours before the airstrike, a final attempt at diplomacy at the UN went nowhere.
Russia was supposed to guarantee that Assad wouldn't use chemical weapons, and Russia did the opposite.
In reply, the Russian ambassador accused the U.S. of threatening to unleash chaos in the Middle East. Mola Lengi, CBS News, the White House.
In a statement issued after the airstrikes tonight, the Russian ambassador to the UN warned that such actions will not be without consequences, saying all responsibility for them rests with Washington, London, and Paris. The gloves are off in President Trump's long-running dispute with James Comey. The former FBI director slams the president in his new book, prompting the president to hit back this morning on Twitter. The president mincing few words, calling Comey a leaker, a liar, and an untruthful slimeball. Comey was fired last May while he was leading the investigation into whether the Trump campaign colluded with the Russian government. Comey's book, entitled A Higher Loyalty, is scheduled for release next week. John Melcher, who represented Montana in Congress for 20 years in the 1970s and 80s, has died. The 93-year-old statesman had a long career in local, state, and national politics. He also was a World War II veteran who took part in the invasion of Normandy on D-Day and fought in the Battle of the Bulge. He passed away at his home in Missoula on Thursday. John Melcher was a World War II veteran and a veterinarian from Forsyth. He started his career in politics on the Forsyth City Council. He served as mayor, then state lawmaker, before becoming a congressman representing Montana's old Eastern District in 1969. 7 years later, Melcher won election to the U.S. Senate, to the seat held by Democrat Mike Mansfield, who was retiring. Melcher spent much of his career focusing on farm and food issues.
He knew agriculture better than any U.S. senator. He knew every detail, every nuance of it, and he would fight for it all the time.
But also had a reputation as a maverick. He was one of just 3 senators voting against a landmark 1986 tax reform bill, and also was a Democrat who opposed abortion. One of Melcher's final efforts as a senator may have played a role in his undoing. The 1988 bill to set aside 1.4 million acres of wilderness in Montana and opening up another 4 million acres to logging and other potential development.
Well, I think it's very likely that the bill will pass as it passed the Senate.
But President Ronald Reagan vetoed the bill just days before the 1988 election. And Melcher's opponent, Republican Conrad Burns, portrayed Melcher as ineffective. Days later, Burns defeated Melcher in an upset 52% to 48%, becoming the first Republican to win a U.S. Senate race in Montana in 42 years. Melcher did attempt a comeback 6 years later, but eventually lost in the Democratic Senate primary. John Melcher survived by 3 daughters, 2 sons, 10 grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren. The senator is well known for many of the accomplishments during his career, including one of the most memorable political ads in Montana history. Back in 1982, when Melcher found himself under attack from an out-of-state political action committee, he fought back with this ad featuring Doc Melcher's talking cows.
Did you hear about those city slickers out here bad-mouthing Doc Melcher? One of them was stepping in what they've been trying to sell. He kept calling me a steer. That'll all come as some surprise to Junior there.
Turns out it was Melcher himself who came up with the idea for that ad, and while it may seem tame compared to the hard-hitting negative ads that we're used to today, it did prove effective. In fact, it was credited with helping Melcher win re-election to the Senate by a larger than expected margin, and it was selected as the top political ad in the country that year. Switching gears now to the weather scene tonight. Connor Prigitzer in for Bob McGuire. And Connor, timing is everything. We actually have some nice weather this weekend to look forward to.
Yes, very happy to be the one who gets to deliver this news. Going towards a little nicer weekend, coming off what was a record-setting storm, albeit much, much closer than we thought it would be. We thought we'd easily get by this, but we woke up this morning to 0.4 inches at the airport, which was exactly what it needed to be to tie the record, a dead heat with 2013-14. Now, other places did get some more serious snow totals. We look up in Conrad, 10, 6.5 inches in both Choteau and Helena, and 8 inches down in Gallatin. Now, that's mostly the west side. The other side of the coin was the rain in the eastern half of the state. We here in Billings got over 0.4 of an inch, which was quite a lot for us. Whereas in Miles City, they got over an inch, which was a record for April 12th. So that was a record-setting day for them, albeit mostly rain on this side. So not the snowfall heavy here that we thought was going to be coming our way, but definitely still a lot of precipitation for us. We'll have your full forecast for a drier outlook coming up. For now, we go back to Jay.
All right, thanks, Connor. New test results today show all of the Missoula Family YMCA classrooms are free of methamphetamine contamination. However, 8 other areas in that facility are contaminated, and the agency says it will take a minimum of 30 days to clean them up. The Y in Missoula has been trying to determine just how much of its learning center was contaminated by a former employee there, who prosecutors allege created a drug den so she could smoke meth on her breaks. 30-year-old Autumn Hines now faces 3 felony charges. The learning center has been closed since this Wednesday while authorities tried to assess the extent of the contamination. YMCA officials say they are grateful for the outpouring of support and understanding from the Missoula community. A Helena District Court judge today overturned the convictions of 2 defendants in a 1994 murder case. Fred Lawrence and Paul Jenkins were both convicted for the 1994 murder of Donna Marr, but today Judge Kathy Seeley vacated their convictions. The judge explained that no DNA in the case links either of the men to the crime scene where Marr's body was found, and she went on to point out that there is a DNA match for David Nelson, who is currently in prison for a double homicide out of Deer Lodge. So based on that new evidence, the judge ordered new trials for both Lawrence and Jenkins. In fact, it took 7 years from the time the Montana Innocence Project took up this case until now. Needless to say, it's been an exciting day for the lawyers who refuse to give up.
And this never ever gets old. It's as exciting now as it was on our first exoneration. One of our attorneys who worked with us, who's Larry Gent from Bozeman, told me today that in his entire legal career, this is the most gratifying result he's ever seen, and it's really hard to disagree with that.
The years of hard work, of poring over documents and DNA results paid off today with Judge Seeley's ruling to vacate the life sentences of Paul Jenkins and Freddie Lawrence. It was a case that came down to science.
DNA was huge because there was DNA and pieces of evidence that hadn't been tested ever. It was a long, long time ago, 25 years ago or so. It had never been tested, so we were hopeful that the results were going to exclude our clients, and which they did. But we also uncovered in our investigation new evidence of innocence that had never been presented to a jury, and the person that matched on the DNA hit had confessed to this crime to family members, and we presented that as well.
The Montana legislature passed an enhanced post-DNA conviction statute in 2015 that expanded the rule of law about forensic testing after a conviction. The Montana Innocence Project believes this could be the first case of its kind to use the new law.
DNA is probably my favorite kind of forensic science to work with, mainly because it's so definitive.
Their lawyers know the next few weeks will be both exciting and unsettling for these men.
They've got a lot of catching up to do with their families. If you dwell on the past, it's hard to move past it and, enjoy the rest of their lives.
In Missoula, Jill Valley, MTN News.
Thank you, Jill. Now, Lawrence and Jenkins will be moved from prison to a local jail as soon as possible in the Missoula area. That's where they will await a decision by the state and lawyers on what comes next. As yet, no new trial date has been set. The Billings School Board tonight completed its interviews with the finalists for superintendent. Ross Kassoon is the last of 3 candidates interviewed this week. They're looking to replace Terry Bauck, who is retiring at the end of this school year. Kaysen it is. I'm sorry, I mispronounced that. Kaysen has been superintendent of the Freehold Township School District in New Jersey, where he's held that post since 2011. He started in 1995 as a teacher out in Summit, New Jersey. Kaysen talked about the possibility tonight of working for School District 2 here in Billings.
I'm passionate about teaching and learning and creating an environment where every student and every staff member can grow and learn every day. It's something that I've done for many years, and I think I have a framework that has worked in New Jersey. I look forward to helping the next district I go to move from a very good district or an excellent district to be a flagship district. I really want to take one that the whole world takes a look at and says they're really doing something special there for their kids.
Earlier this week, trustees interviewed Greg Upham from Helena and Rebecca Salado from California. The board will meet tomorrow morning beginning at 9 o'clock to choose the new superintendent. A big night here in Billings tonight for the Billings YWCA and its mission to end violence against women and children. Tonight's 2018 Salute Dinner celebrates and honors high-achieving women and their support of the YWCA, an organization committed to the community. As many as 400 people in attendance tonight for the live auction and the big award program that also honors men. Among those receiving awards this year, First Interstate Bank and its president Mike Brown, Ben Halverson, an attorney with the city of Billings, Carol Burton, CEO for the United Way of Yellowstone County, Liz Chang with the Governor's Office of Economic Development, Kathy Cross, a community volunteer, and Lynette Kozovich, CEO of the Rimrock Foundation. The YWCA has been raising money for its Gateway Vista Apartments, a shelter which is set to open this summer. Still to come on tonight's 10 o'clock news, what would you do with $533 million? Well, that's the question now facing a New Jersey man. We'll have his story. And later in sports, NFL Hall of Famer Rod Woodson tells Montana State what he thinks is the key to success in the future.
You're watching MTN News with Jay Kohn and Janelle Slade. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.